In a quiet little town on the edge of nowhere, a place where streetlights hung louder than the voices of the people, there lived an old woman named Martha. She wasn't famous. She wasn't wealthy. She wasn't strong the way the world measures strength. She was simply a mother, now in her late 70s, whose hands still carried the memory of raising 3 children alone. Her house was small, her income tiny, and her prayers, at least in her mind, too small for a God who ruled the universe. Martha always believed God answered the great prayers, the prayers of pastors, the prayers of the righteous, the prayers of people who seemed important. But her own whispered prayers, made late at night in a room no one visited, felt too insignificant to matter. She prayed about bills she couldn't pay. She prayed about her failing knees. She prayed about loneliness that pressed heavy on her chest. And when the answers didn't come as quickly or as loudly as she hoped, she convinced herself that maybe her problems were too small for heaven to notice. Every morning, Martha sat in the same wooden chair by her window, the chair her late husband built decades ago. The wood was worn, a little cracked, but holding on just like she was. She held a small cup of tea, though the tea was more warm water than flavor now, and she whispered prayers into the steam rising from her cup, imagining her words rising with it. But lately, her strength had been fading faster than she wanted to admit. Her breath came shorter. Her legs trembled more. The loneliness felt deeper, and her prayers felt quieter. She wondered if God still heard her, or if she had simply grown too small, too fragile, too forgettable. One rainy evening, after a long day of pain in her bones, Martha sat on her bed and whispered, "Lord, if you can still hear me, I just need to know I'm not invisible to you." There was no thunder outside, no bright light, no trembling of the walls, nothing dramatic, just silence. And that silence made Martha wonder if maybe she had reached the point in life where her prayers faded before reaching heaven. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that heaven had been moving long before her fears began. God had been stirring things around her, weaving threads she couldn't see, preparing a moment she didn't expect. Because no prayer is too small for God, not even the ones whispered through tears in a quiet bedroom. That night, Martha fell asleep with her Bible resting on her chest. She didn't know that someone would knock on her door the next morning. She didn't know that her life was about to change in a way she hadn't prayed for, but desperately needed. She didn't know that God had heard every single word she ever whispered, even the ones she forgot. She prayed. And somewhere in the unseen spaces between earth and heaven, God whispered back, "You are not forgotten, and your small prayers are not small to me." She didn't remember falling asleep. One moment she was lying awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying old worries like a broken cassette. The next moment, she opened her eyes and realized morning had come, quiet, gray, and heavy, like a blanket soaked in cold rain. Her body felt heavier than usual, as if the night had pressed its entire weight on her chest. She pushed herself upright, but even that small motion made her breath hitch. Pain radiated from deep inside her ribs, spreading outward like cracks on tired glass. She sat on the edge of the bed for a long minute, hands trembling, whispering a prayer she barely believed anymore. "Lord, I don't even know what to ask you. I don't want to bother you with the same thing again. But I'm so tired." So tired. She felt foolish the moment the words left her lips. What kind of prayer was that? What kind of faith? Even her whispers sounded small, like a child, apologizing for wanting to be held. The silence in the room stretched thin, and she wondered if God was disappointed in her. She wondered if heaven had grown tired of hearing her voice. So she waited, but nothing happened. No warmth, no sign, no sudden peace. Just the same weight pressing deeper into her body. Her son knocked softly on the door. "Mom, are you okay?" She used every ounce of strength to sound normal. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just getting up," he lingered. She could hear the worry in his breath. "Do you need help with anything?" She almost said yes. She almost told him about the pain, the dizziness, the fear that today might be worse than yesterday. But she couldn't bring herself to make her burdens his burdens. "No, baby, I'm okay." He left, but she heard him pause in the hallway hesitating, because he knew she wasn't okay. He always knew. That truth alone broke something inside her. It took her almost 30 minutes to make it to the kitchen. Every step felt like moving through deep water. Every inhale came thin and sharp. By the time she reached the counter, her vision blurred for a moment, and she grabbed the edge to steady herself. She pretended it was nothing. Pretending had become her survival skill. She fixed breakfast slowly, hands shaking as she poured cereal into bowls, listening to her son talk about his day. He was trying so hard to be cheerful, trying so hard not to look scared. She smiled at him, but inside, she wondered how much longer she could keep pretending. She wondered what he'd do if one day she didn't come out of her room at all. After he left for school, she sank into a chair and let her body collapse. Tears rose again, but she fought them down, swallowing them like stones. Crying wouldn't fix anything. Crying wouldn't heal her. Crying wouldn't magically restore her strength. And yet, her heart ached for some kind of relief, some kind of assurance, some sign that God still remembered her name. "God, do you even see me?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. "Do my prayers matter to you? They feel so small. And I feel so small." Her voice cracked on that last word. Small. That was it. That was exactly how she felt, like a grain of dust, lost in an endless universe. She opened her Bible, hoping that maybe, just maybe, a verse would jump out at her. But the words felt flat, distant, blurred by her exhaustion. She closed the book again. Nothing brought comfort. Nothing changed. The silence felt too big, too empty. Later that afternoon, while she was folding laundry, dizziness washed over her again. This time stronger, this time cruel. The room tilted, colors fading into a pale haze. She grabbed the wall, but felt her knees buckling anyway. She sank to the floor, clutching her chest as pain stabbed through her body like lightning. "God, help me." The whisper barely escaped her throat. For a moment, she thought she would die right there on the cold tile floor. For a moment, she thought her son would come home to find her lifeless. Fear wrapped itself around her heart, squeezing until everything inside her trembled. But then something unexpected happened. A warmth, soft, gentle, steady, pressed against her back. It wasn't heat from exhaustion. It wasn't panic. It felt familiar, like comfort she had forgotten, like the warmth of a hand placed exactly where hurt overflowed. She didn't turn around. She couldn't. She didn't have the strength. But she felt it, a presence. Not imagined, not wished for. Real, calm, steady. And then she heard a whisper, not loud, not booming. A voice that felt like light breaking through a storm. "Daughter, your prayers were never too small for me." The words unraveled something inside her. A dam broke. Tears flooded her cheeks as she clung to that whisper. "I have heard every cry. I have counted every tear. I have carried every fear you tried to hide. You are not forgotten. You are never forgotten." Her breath hitched as relief washed over, warm, deep, undeniable. The pain eased. Her vision steadied. Her heartbeat slowed to a gentle rhythm. Something inside her shifted, like a heavy door finally unlocking after years of rust. Then she felt herself being lifted, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, as if invisible arms were holding her upright again. She whispered, barely audible, "Lord, I thought my prayers were too small." And the voice answered, "Nothing you bring to me is small." She stayed there on the floor for a long time, soaking in the quiet miracle. She didn't understand how. She didn't know why it happened now, and not earlier. But she knew one thing. God had never stopped listening. He had never turned away. She had never been alone. And for the first time in months, she believed she could stand again. When the morning sun rose, Anna felt the weight of exhaustion resting behind her eyes. She had barely slept. She had prayed until her voice felt thin, until her heart felt too tired to beat with its usual hope. But something strange happened that morning. Something quiet, something gentle, something she couldn't quite explain. There was a peace in the room. It didn't remove the storm, but it softened the edges of her fear. It was like waking up inside a whisper one that said, "You don't walk alone." Anna carried her son Daniel into the kitchen. He was still sick, still weak, still needing more care than she thought she had left to give. But for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was carrying him alone. Her steps felt steadier, her breath calmer. She couldn't put words to it, but she felt that someone was holding her from behind, holding her together. As the day went on, small changes began to unfold, so small she almost missed them. Daniel laughed once, a soft, fragile laugh. The kind of laugh she hadn't heard in weeks. Anna froze, her heart trembling. Could this be the beginning of something? Could this tiny laugh be a seed God planted? She didn't dare say it out loud. She didn't dare give herself too much hope. But she felt warmth blooming inside her chest, like a spark that stubbornly refused to die. In the afternoon, she carried Daniel outside to sit under the old oak tree. The air was cool, the wind soft, and for the first time, Daniel didn't look afraid of the world around him. He kept staring at the sky as if he saw something Anna didn't, something beautiful, something comforting. "Mom," Daniel whispered, "do you think God hears me too?" Anna's heart tightened, because that question, that simple question, was the very thing she had been asking deep inside her soul every day. She gently cupped his face and said, "Yes, sweetheart, I think he hears you first." Daniel smiled, a small, tired smile, but real, and Anna felt tears rise behind her eyes. Not sad tears, not overwhelmed tears, but tears that came when a mother realizes her child is still fighting, still trying to believe, still holding on to hope, even when his body felt weak. Later that evening, Anna sat alone on the porch after putting Daniel to bed. The sky was painted in soft pinks and fading gold, the kind of sky that feels like a doorway to heaven. She closed her eyes, unsure of what to pray, unsure of what she was allowed to ask for anymore. And that's when the voice returned. Not loud, not booming, not dramatic, just a gentle, steady whisper in her soul. "Your small prayers are precious to me." Anna inhaled sharply. Was she imagining it? Was it just her mind trying to comfort itself? But then the whisper grew warmer, closer, clearer. "You think your prayers are too small, but I am the one who turns small things into miracles." Anna's hand covered her mouth as she began to sob, not out of despair, but relief. Deep, soul-level relief. She felt something breaking inside her, not her spirit, but the cage she'd built around her faith. She had been holding herself hostage with her own fear, her own belief that she wasn't worth God's attention. But now, the truth broke through. God had never been distant. He had never ignored her. He had never overlooked her prayers. She cried until she ran out of tears, and when she finally lifted her head, she noticed something she hadn't before. The sky had opened. Light spilled over the horizon in soft pillars, almost like golden arms reaching toward the earth. And Anna felt not warmth on her skin, but warmth inside her soul. The kind of warmth that says, "You are held, you are seen, you are loved." That night, when Anna checked on Daniel, she saw him sleeping peacefully, his breathing deeper, his face relaxed, his hands no longer trembling. She touched his forehead, cool, calm, rested. Something had shifted. Something had begun. But Anna didn't jump to conclusions. She didn't assume a miracle had finished its work. Instead, she allowed herself to finally believe that one had begun. She kneeled beside his small bed and rested her head on the mattress. Whispering softly, she prayed, "God, thank you for hearing us. Thank you for every tiny sign, every moment of strength, every breath that shows your hand is here. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I trust you with it. I trust you with him, and I even trust you with me." And for the first time in her long journey of fear, Anna felt something she hadn't felt in months. Rest, not because the problem disappeared, not because the miracle was complete, but because she finally understood what God had been trying to tell her all along. Your prayers were never too small. Your faith was never unnoticed, and your pain was never ignored. Anna lay there beside her son, listening to his steady breathing, and let peace wash over her like a warm blanket. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew who would walk into it with her. And for the first time, that was enough. More than enough.